Welcome to Significant Brothers. I'm Brad.
I'm Chase.
And I'm Cray.
And today we are talking about barbershop, ooh, no, that's not how it goes.
We love the songs from the good old days. But as times in music change, the music from the good old days.
And today we are talking about barbershops.
A merry child he was, so God me save. Well could he let blood clip and shave. That's from Geoffrey Chaucer, the Canterbury Tales, specifically the Miller's Tale. That is about someone who was a barber, because so the role of a barber has existed since the ancient times. We found razors in Egypt since like 3500 BC, but eventually in medieval times they found that cutting hair was much too easy, and they wanted to take on the role of surgery, bloodletting, and dentistry. So if you're male and you want to get a haircut, it costs like $10, but if you want to get your boil drained, that'd be another $5 on top of that. And they were called barber surgeons, and Sweeney Todd was actually a barber surgeon. Barber surgeons were the most common medical practitioners in medieval Europe. They had their market in the 1200s in monasteries to keep up the monks' tonsure, which is their baldness, but they have that like ring of hair going on around them.
Is it supposed to be a halo?
I don't think so. From what I read, it was a sign of religious respect or discipline or whatever.
Piety.
They base it off of Acts 18:18, where Paul shaves his head for whatever reason. I don't know if they specify it was like that specific of a shave.
So was it more of a halo than a halo?
Yeah. But in 1308, Richard Le Barber started a guild for barbers to sort of review industry standards and all that, and today is called the Worshipful Company of Barbers. His responsibility, it was said, is to make diligent search through the whole of his craft every month, and if he shall find any brothel keeper or other disreputable folk to the scandal of the craft, he shall detain them and cause them to be brought before the chamber. So I guess that's what guilds kind of do nowadays. They kind of make sure everything's up to snuff. Now, they had a rivalry with actual surgeons who they focused solely on the craft of surgery, and they were educated by like a university. But for whatever reason, barbers were more respected than surgeons were. I don't know why.
You've got your silly books. I have my clippers.
I can do both of this razor right here.
I can kill you and make sure you look good afterwards.
So King Henry VIII joined the two groups as the Company of Barbers and Surgeons of London, I think around 1540, in the hopes of easing tensions. And under this decree, there's a stipulation that 4 times a year, executed criminals should be brought to the Barber Surgeons Hall for anatomy lessons. So surgeons and barbers and all the like got to attend these sort of public lessons. Well, the public couldn't go to it, only like, medical professionals and barbers. So there were times when they'd receive bodies that actually weren't corpses. So in 1740, a 16-year-old boy named William Duell was hanged, and then while they were preparing to dissect him, he was found to be living, and he said, "I'm not dead yet." So they let him recover, and then they sent him back to prison.
Hold on. That seems very derivative of something that happened in Monty Python.
I know, that's exactly.
Well, that's exactly what I was quoting.
Oh, so was he dead?
No, he wasn't dead, but me saying he wasn't dead yet was a joke.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, well, I guess
purposefully-
why would they write that down?
He's a little dead.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It hasn't been the first time my joke has been taken as a not joke.
I did laugh.
That's true. You guys did laugh. So as the years went on, another problem, professionals were annoyed that they only got 4 corpses a year because they wanted more anatomy lessons. They want to find out, they wanted to expand the knowledge of their field. And as one person put it, can see that we shall have to raid the miserable graveyard again unless the doctor can obtain a corpse from the authorities. It is intolerable that the progress of our art should depend upon such uncertain foundations. So they had to resort to grave robbing, basically, for their anatomy lessons. Surgery back then, as we probably know, was pretty terrible because there wasn't a lot of pain killing. The only solution for pain killing was whiskey, which is usually my method to dull my pains. And
Emotional pains.
yeah,
usually, though.
emotional pains. But since the anesthetics were so bad, fastness was like a really important quality to have, which I'm not sure that's a super important quality to have today.
Wait, fastness as in like speed, or like you shouldn't be eating while
No,
Oh.
speed. Like a surgeon wouldn't brag about doing like a 5-minute brain operation today. But one would brag about that. William Cheldson, he was a barber surgeon. He could remove a stone from a bladder in less than 30 seconds.
Wow.
Could you imagine that? Just like taking his razor and like... Actually, I have no idea how surgery works, so...
That sounds awful.
I know. And there's this other surgeon, John Abernathy, and he could never get through a complete surgery without throwing up. Could you imagine just your open heart surgery and then all of a sudden he pukes inside your heart? But the bitter feelings between surgeons and barbers continued for 200 years until surgeons disbanded into the Royal College of Surgeons of England in 1745. And since barbers were doing a poor job at covering the 3 fields of cutting hair, pulling teeth, and performing surgeries, the homage to their past of barber surgery and less of hair cutting.
It'd be really cool if you could meet like a barber surgeon. Like he was a licensed barber and he also did surgery. Or he was a surgeon who got a barber license. Because it sounds like that he just does it casually.
That would be cool. I would like to get my hair cut by a barber surgeon and maybe a teeth pulled during the same trip.
That'd be too much. If you had your medical license and you were a dentist. Oh.
I could tell you one would be worth your time way more than the other.
Barbers. But yeah, that's all I have on the barber surgeons.
So the barber pole was originally invented for people who they couldn't sustain their craft purely on the surgery or hair cutting abilities they possessed. So they needed to turn to a more lucrative form of entertainment and money getting. That's why they invented the barber pole. So they could pole dance.
That's not true.
So there really wasn't there's not really the first barber pole that ever really existed. This kind of happened, and it was the white of the pole generally represented the bloodletting rod that was grasped by patients during the procedure, kind of like something that you would stick in your mouth. So
Like during surgery?
during surgery, so you
Like to
wouldn't
bite down on.
bite down on, so you wouldn't bite your tongue.
Is that what candy cane comes from?
No. And the red symbolizes the bloodied bandages that they'd hang out to dry from surgeries. They dry them on the poles, basically. Get them red
So
from surgery.
they-
nicks on your neck from a haircut.
I have a question.
Yes, I have an answer.
Did they dry them? Like they dried them with the blood on them?
They'd be like they'd wash them out, obviously.
So they'd wash them and then they dry. Okay.
Yeah.
So I was like, why not just get new cloths?
Well, I don't know what you did in feudal whatever century, but I didn't have bandages available all the time.
Yeah.
That's true.
today, obviously, they don't reuse bandages. So those are the basic two things that are involved in a barber pole. In America, we have a blue stripe on there. Some people think it's blue to symbolize the color of your veins on your skin. That's just a maybe.
Or the blood of the crab people.
Or the blood of the crab people. But it's not really used much in other countries, mostly in America. And so other people think that, well, maybe it's just because we're Americans and patriotic, and so we also just keep the blue on there for the red, white, and blue.
I could see that.
Which is, it's a fair assumption. We're a little patriotic sometimes in America.
Yeah, we get a little bit nationalistic over here.
And there's more to the barber pole than just the spinning spiral. There's also a brass ball up top on traditional barber poles, which people believe symbolizes the things that kept the leeches in, because there was a lot of bloodletting involved in old barber circles. And at the bottom is the basin. People think that's what was helped to use to catch the blood that was spilled out. So you have the ball on top, the red, white, sometimes blue pole, and then a basin to catch the blood in. Okay, so on the Wikipedia article, there was like use in barbering, and then there was a big section on use in prostitution, like the same size of the use in barbering. So in a lot of parts of Asia, the red, white, and blue barber pole is used as a symbol of a brothel. Now, prostitution is illegal in much of Asia, just as much as jaywalking is illegal in America. It's like, you're not supposed to do it, but it's just like, if it helps you get there faster.
It just didn't, just not well enforced. So they can't have a sign that says
brothel.
Peter Baelish's brothel.
No, they can't do it. And so in South Korea, this is actually, I think, prostitution might be legal, or at least more legal. And the symbol for brothels are, you have barber poles that go in rotating counterclockwise, like they're spinning opposite to each other. And that's the symbol for brothel. And
Roxanne, you don't have to put out the barber pole.
in actual barbershops, usually just have a pole that shows a picture of a woman with cutting hair, and it says salon on it.
Huh.
Other fun facts about barbers and barber poles. Not barbers, but barber poles. There's actually not. These are just all random facts. It's quite a popular design for lighthouses. It's a very striking appearance. It's called the White Shoal Light. It's the only barber. It's not very popular, actually. There's only one. And it's used on Michigan's Save Our Lights license plates.
Oh. And then I hate to point this out again, but it's actually a design on candy canes.
Do you really think Santa has ever gotten a haircut before?
Santa at one point visited barbershops. How do you think he got his suit all red? The
Do you think
leeches.
he's Sweeney? Oh, I was gonna say, do you think he's Sweeney Todd?
Oh. Well, I thought you were saying he went there because he was dropping off presents.
No, because he got cut and it's all over his suit now. It was a white suit before.
I suppose that's the only reasonable explanation.
Barber poles are pretty common, and they have a long, bloody history, but it has more to do with the barbers than it does with the actual pole. It's just a symbol of a great history that a lot of people overlook.
Believe it or not, there's not that much. I mean, if you've been to a barber in the past 200 years, it hasn't really changed that much because there's no ministry of, in the U.S. anyway, there's no ministry of barbership, and there's really only a few laws that dictate what it means to be a barber. They are different than cosmetologists. Unlike barber, cosmetologists do like nails and other hair stuff that barbers don't necessarily do. But if you want to be a barber, you must seek out there's a few qualifications. You must seek out a barber license, which you can get from a barber school. I tried to look up what the Juilliard of barber schools is. I think it might have just I looked this up on some like college website for like college programs, and it looks like it's something like World A Cuts in York, PA, but I think it was just based on location. So I think that most of them, just about any community college has a barber course, and there's other barber schools as well. But I think most of them probably teach around the same sort of stuff anyway, as far as technique goes. But what's important, no matter where you go, you can go to World A Cuts, the Juilliard in the hair cutting world, or you can go to your local community college. So what's important is if you get your 2,000 hours in to become a barber.
2,000 hours?
That is a really long time, actually.
That's-
because you also...
Cosmetology is only like 1,500, right?
Yeah, it's not as much. And so maybe that's why when you get your hair cut at any sort of cosmetology chain place, like, the haircuts are pretty cheap, and I think that's probably because the barrier to entry is a lot lower. Not saying it's easy, but you also need to do an apprenticeship. And apprentices... so those are the qualifications. Another qualification, I think, is you need to be really bad at small talk. I'm simply laying out the correlations that I've seen with barbers that I've been to.
That is so true, because anytime I can keep a conversation the entire time, as far as it goes with a cosmetologist, I feel very accomplished. And anytime I tell someone else, they're like, what? I usually just stare at the mirror at myself, which is usually what I do. But yeah, you're right on the whole small talk thing.
I feel like with my barber, he's pretty conversational. Like, it
Yeah,
bothers
I'm-
me a little
I'm-
bit because I don't want to talk when I'm getting my hair cut.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Maybe that's the extra 500 hours is they're practicing socializing with people.
The last, like, legitimate barber I went to, really great guy, he criticized my small talk skills.
What?
He was like, he was an interesting guy. He was, I think he was from New York, but he was cutting my hair, and then I just, like, kind of, like, just stopped talking like you do in conversations, you know, when stuff just doesn't happen. He's like, yeah, you got quiet all of a sudden. And I was just like, yeah, because conversations have legs.
That's not a conversation skill.
Hey guys, we're all from Michigan. It turns out there was a bill that was put into the Senate in Michigan that was trying to pass a law for only barbers could put out barber poles in front of their stores to symbolize that you have your 2,000 hours, you've done your apprenticeship, that you're a licensed barber from a licensed institution. So that was a law that was going to be passed. Kind of like how you want your doctor to have a medical license or a barber license, even, depending on when you're alive.
Like on their wall.
Yeah, I mean, like, I want my surgeon to be able to cut hair as well. But it was that was put on the floor, and I don't think it passed, unfortunately, because I think that's a pretty good law to have.
No, I completely agree. Like, I think that should pass.
I
But
bet.
here's the question.
Oh.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, my theory is that the barber pole lobbying group fought against it because if they could only then produce barber poles for people, for actual barbers, then they would sell less. So,
Well,
it's a military-industrial complex.
I don't
That's
think
what
so.
it
'Cause-
is.
So, I forgot to include this in my bit, but there's only 500 barber poles that get produced per year.
No.
That's not a very large industry. They used to sell thousands and thousands back in the 60s, but they only make 500 a year now.
I assume that it's like a eclectic, fun, knick-knack sort of
No, they're
company that probably doesn't just make barber poles.
they make a lot of other things, but it's just like they drove the other competitors out of business. There was about like 3 other places that produce barber poles, and then they don't make them anymore. So I don't think it's an industry thing. If I had to take a guess, it was lobbying money from Jude's Barbershop, which is just a glorified cement cosmetology stop.
Yeah, I from what I think, I'm pretty sure there are less barbers nowadays because of stuff like that. Like cosmetology and people just kind of not caring about the barber world. I don't know. It's kind of hard to sell. Like, I don't know why I should tell someone to go get a $20 haircut versus a $10 haircut. But yeah, I could see that the reason that less barber poles are made is because there are less new barbers coming out of barber school.
That sounds fair.
So that was a thing. But as far as like famous modern barbers, are you guys familiar with any? Of course not.
Scott in Holland.
Have you been there, Brad?
No, I've only been to Zach's and then Walker Barber, which is like a block away from my apartment. So I just walk there.
I should go back to some. There's a lot of barbers where I live.
Well, it's like both the barbershops that I go to, there's $13 a haircut.
Oh, that's really fair.
Oh, wow.
It's like Great Cope's price.
They do a great job.
All right, well, I should go there. Ice Cube.
Really?
Well, he was in a movie called Barbershop that has had many sequels. So I don't know if he cuts hair, but he seems to really like starring in movies about a person who cuts hair. Actually, that's not true. He didn't want to cut hair. I'm going to spoil the movie for people. He sold the place.
Oh.
And then realized that it was his father's dying wish to have the barbershop, but he sold it. And then he realized that that barbershop meant a lot to the community of South Chicago, I think. But barbershops are a community place where you can talk politics, or at least they used to be. I assume in some communities they still exist where they're like a hangout place. Yeah.
So how did they make multiple movies of that? Did he keep like wanting to sell the barber shop?
They just keep offering him more money. He's like, that was more than the first movie to sell the place. Because you know what? I think he sold it for $20,000 in the first one, and then the movie, he has a day to make $40,000, which is exactly double what he got. So,
To buy it back.
it was going to be to buy it back. It was going to be a strip joint.
Oh.
Oh, see, that's where the barber poles came in.
Oh, wow. Good connection, Brad. We're really analyzing this movie more than it deserves to be, but I heard the first one's good. But another famous barber / owner of a barbershop in real life is there's a barbershop in Atlanta called Graffiti Swag Barbershop that's owned by Killer Mike.
Oh, really? The guy
he owns a
who
barber
once
shop.
supported Bernie Sanders, well, once supported, I mean, he probably still does, but, you know, he did that when he was a viable candidate.
Yes, he was a no one before that.
Right, I should say the person who has a rap career who just so happened to support Bernie Sanders is what I should say.
Yeah, there were these guys who all perform shirtless that are called they're called the Red Hot Chili Peppers. No names, but it turns out they released like 10 albums before they supported Bernie Sanders.
Huh. That's incredible.
Yeah. So no, yeah, he owns a barbershop. I don't know how good it is. I think it's near the airport, and if anyone's in the Atlanta area, you should check out Graffiti Swag.
All right, everyone, thank you so much for listening. If you aren't already, you can listen to us on Podbean, iTunes, or any of your other podcast aggregate services. Just search Significant Brothers.
And if you want to keep up on all of our significant happenings, just sign up for our newsletter at tinyletter.com/significantbrothers. You can be the 8th person to subscribe.
If you want to tweet us or email us, I dare you to. I dare you to email us. You can be in the top 10 people.
The first person.
You can be the first person to email us. If you just want to tell us to do an episode, talk to us. But definitely follow us on Twitter.
All right, that's season 2.
Woo!
That's a wrap.
Let's get our hair cut.
On today's Father's Day.
That was pretty good.
I have the worst. President